Okay guys, let's talk about practicing putting and some of the things you may be missing while you're just doing your regular routine, and we're going to talk all about it right after the intro. Okay guys, here's the deal. We all know we walk up to practice and what do? We get, a certain distance away and we just start chunking putts into the basket. And we've got that routine down. As a matter of fact, we almost go into autopilot doing that. And there's nothing wrong with that to some degree. I definitely think you should check out Robbie C. Talks a lot about putting, and he's really good at putting, so I would go check him out. But this is when we get into areas where we can't do our normal putt. We're not talking about, should you straddle or whatever, but these are those extra putts that a lot of us don't work on. And I think if you want to be a well-rounded, a good player, you need to be comfortable sometimes making an uncomfortable shot. I hope that makes sense. So not every time, but every once in a while, I think you should make it a game. Do something where you're practicing all the crazy shots and you want to have stuff in your way so that you can work on this. I've touched on it before, but I think it's good to rehash this, to remind yourself that part of your practicing is practicing for the chaos. So, as long as I'm in the open, that's no problem. But what happens when I'm here, especially if this tree gets bigger? Well, that's where the flick putt comes in handy. Or what about, let's say I can't throw up here. Let's say it's real tight. I may end up doing a daddy putt. Or maybe I've got room, but I don't have a straight run at it. I might have to do a hyzer putt that I missed right there, or I have to do an anhyzer putt. You see, I don't use these a lot, and I'm also trying to talk to the camera, so it's hard to kind of demonstrate. But these are the things you need to practice. If you just are constantly practicing this, that's great. You're practicing for when everything goes well. But are you practicing when everything doesn't go well? And so that's what I want to talk about. Okay, I just talked way too fast, and it just kind of went all over the place. Let's reset and start this over again. Let's take it one at a time. And I'm going to start with the turbo putt. Okay, the turbo putt really took a lot of hold in Florida. And I was also talking to Tom Monroe before he passed away, that when they had the original kind of object holes where it was like a concrete culvert pipe and just a post in the middle, they would use a turbo putt to get it just drop down in the middle of the culvert so it wouldn't go past. And so this is really helpful when you've got an object that's up higher that you've got to get over, because let's face it, you can throw a turbo putt from up here. I could kind of do a flick putt, but really I like to be about here, whereas turbo putt, I can be up here and almost have the same feel. So in Florida, they've got the palmetto bushes. They've got, you're behind a palmetto bush that's about this high. You've got no real room to maneuver unless you go up high. And so this is where you just want to make sure that it's resting on your thumb. You get your fingers behind it, and you're going to want to give it a good spin as you throw it in there. And you hit the cage. Let's try that again. This is why you need to practice them. And so this is really good to get you out of trouble when something's blocking your path. And then if you look at somebody like Johnny McRae, he can hit this thing from a mile away. And I obviously need to work on this. It takes time to figure this out because it's a certain feel to it. Ooh, hit the camera, yeah. All right, let's make this one. All right. So I think that one is good to, if nothing else, every few months, just do a quick 10-minute turbo putt practice round so that you've got a feel for it, so that when you get that one shot that shows up that you got to get over something, you go, oh, I know how to do this. And so you're not feeling as uptight, as chaotic, because you've practiced that at least a little. All right, let's move on. Okay, now granted, I'm only going so far. This is demonstration purposes only. But this one, the scuba, has recently been kind of gained some acclaim because of Brody Smith, but there were plenty that did it beforehand. And a lot of it comes from Ultimate, but other shots. And this one is another one where you can stay up high and you can run at the basket. But the nice thing about this is, just like the turbo putt, it's dropping right after it gets to its target, so it's not going to go running by a lot. So whereas the turbo putt's up here, the scuba's more over here. So you get around here and it's more kind of coming from the shoulder and popping here and giving it a little flick. Now, I'm not great at the scuba. I need to work on it. But so this is to get up and over something and try not to hit the camera. Nailed it. Gosh. This is why I can't have nice things. I should put this on the other side. Sorry, camera. But it's also good to know where the misses usually are. So this one's gonna come out here, then it's gonna pan back to the left. So I need to make sure that there we go. I get it nice and flat. Yeah. So you wanna know why I'm thinking about this is because I need to work on this. Because man, that looks bad. But they are so helpful to have those in your toolbox ready to go when the need arises. You get behind a bush, you get behind something and you can't do a normal putt. Well, then you're gonna have to pull one of those shots out. You'd much rather, I've practiced this, I know what to do, and then at least you're gonna give it a running bid versus just close your eyes and throw it. Okay, let's move on to the next one. All right, another helpful one, and hopefully I can do this. Ooh, this one might be the best setup. Sometimes you get stuck in a place where you don't have a lot of room to maneuver. See, if I've got the flick, which we're going to talk about in a minute, obviously I'm going to emphasize the flick, I can step out. But let's pretend there's a tree here, and all I've got is this little section right here. And it may even be that it's got a really thin, I can't get the disc through it. That's where coming up and doing a dad putt, or even a drop in, it doesn't hurt to work on this. Or horseshoe putt, so that you're coming up, now Jake Hebenheimer, sorry guys, that way you're swinging through and you're releasing, like if this is the only spot you have and you've got to keep it nice and straight, so then it's something like that. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, but practicing the dad putt, the horseshoe, looks goofy sometimes, but it can save your bacon. Okay, so here's a good scenario here. My disc landed behind here, so I don't have a straight shot. I could try to straddle out, but that tree's blocking me. I could try to straddle out, but I don't have a lot of room to maneuver over here. So what I may be able to do, because it's going to be more comfortable, is throw an anhyzer. So instead of my normal, if I'm push putt or spin putting, it's here. What I'm doing is I'm going out here and popping it on anhyzer and letting it draw back around. So it's going around the tree and coming back in. Let's see if I can do it. I'm trying to take that camera out. So the mistake for me is I'm not engaging, I'm not popping here. I'm worried about this tree. The very thing I'm trying to get around is actually tighten me up. But you can see how just by changing up from your regular normal putt, now you just bring it out here and swing it around. Thank you very much. You're able to get some clearance and get around stuff. So yeah, you want your clearance and make sure you get your vector, Victor. Sorry, picked a bad week to stop, never mind. And then let's face it, the one that most folks will want to work on, or more naturally work on than any others, is just the hyzer putt. So I've got to get out here, but I've still got to get around the tree. So I've got to take it up and drop it in. Ooh, that was terrible. Up and in. Unless you're Garrett Girthy and you do this kind of putt all the time. Oh, that's bad. So that one, what you're working on is you're putting it on hyzer and letting it drop back to the left. So it's not going to be a full float. That was the thing, is I'm expecting a little more float, but the problem is it's not going that fast. So you got to cut it close, but get it high enough so it's got room to come back down to the basket. You know, the one I love is the flick putt. The great thing about the flick putt is I can extend out, I can go here, I can even go out here and throw, because I've done it a million times. And it's going to allow me to draw it in as an arc. I like to think about visually, I think about it coming around, it can dodge whatever's in the way, hopefully, and then come around this way and come in. But as I say, the thing about this, just like the turbo putt gives you the most latitude up here, the flick putt gives you the most latitude this way. And so I can go from here all the way around to out here. So I've got much more area that I can work with. I can even come in here. Now the one downside is I do need a little more room over on the right side to travel back to the basket. So if there's a tree or something here, I've got to be very careful about not pulling by or hitting the tree because it wants to come out and in. Make sure to check out some of my other flick putt videos if you're more interested in that. But so what I allow you to do is you're stuck behind a tree. I can't, this would be tough, especially if I'm right behind the tree. With a flick putt, I'm now out, I'm away from the tree. The tree doesn't even bother me anymore. This guy actually bothers me a little bit more if I try to come out here. But the nice thing is I can just kick back. I got my front foot here. It's not that weight dependent, so I'm now on my back foot. I've got this wide open alley, and I can just, I wanted to hit all of them, dang it. Oh, God. I'm really so tempted to go edit that and redo it where I make all 6 of them, but I made 5 out of 6, so I can't complain too much. But ooh, I wanted it. But anyway, here's the deal, guys. Practice whatever putts you love as your main putt, but then get out there and do some crazy putts. Make it a game. Play horse with some of your friends. That's a great way to have fun, but also work on these shots so that you're pushing each other to learn how to make these tough shots. And the more you do it, the easier they will become. So there you go. That's my encouragement for today. Practice the chaos so that when it comes, it's less chaotic. That's all I got for today. Guys, I thank you so much for coming along with me. Please make sure to like and subscribe and leave me some comments, some questions, anything you've got there. And I really do appreciate it. And I hope to see you out on the course.